John Edward Jones, became trapped upside down in Utah's Nutty Putty Cave. His entrapment triggered one of the most difficult and tragic cave rescue attempts in modern history, as rescuers fought time, gravity, and solid rock for 27 hours. "I'm not going to come out of here, am I?" he asked his rescuer. Why did John believe he wouldn't make it out alive? Why was it so hard for 137 rescuers to save one man? John Edward Jones was a 26-year-old medical student and a devoted family man. He lived in Virginia with his wife, Emily, and their 1-year-old daughter, Lizzie. Their second child was due the following June. When John was younger, he had explored many caves with his father and brother. But he hadn't gone into a cave in years, when he met his brother Josh at their parents' home for Thanksgiving. The two brothers decided to rekindle their love for caving. A few days before Thanksgiving, they arrived at Nutty Putty Cave with family and friends. At around 8 p.m. on November 24th, they stepped through its mouth, and into the darkest moment of their lives. Hidden underground, beneath a quiet patch of Utah's hill country, west of State Road 68, the Nutty Putty Cave twisted and folded in on itself, like a monstrous serpent. A strange, viscous clay coated the cave's walls, thick, sticky, almost alive. This clay gave the cave its playful name, Nutty Putty. But the name was deceptive. More than 1,300 feet of passage wound downward, plunging nearly 150 feet below the surface. Yet size alone wasn't what made the cave dangerous. It was how the tunnels narrowed without warning. How slick squeezes, sudden drops, and blind turns punished even experienced cavers. Over 10 years, 5 major rescues had already taken place inside its cramped passages. Despite the warnings, Nutty Putty became one of Utah's most popular caves, drawing nearly 25,000 visitors a year. In 2006, it was closed for safety concerns. In May of 2009, it reopened, just 6 months before John entered its depths. The party spent an hour exploring the largest room in the cave, the Big Slide. Then John, Josh, and 2 friends set out for something tighter, more challenging, the birth canal, a narrow squeeze that opened into a larger chamber. John went first. He chose a waist-high hole and dove in head first, inching forward on his stomach, his hips, his fingertips. He wriggled forward for several minutes, expecting the passage to open. It didn't. It only tightened. 6 feet tall and weighing 200 pounds, John was not a small man. There was no space to turn around. So he kept crawling deeper, hoping the passage would widen. It didn't. He went through a space barely 18 inches across and 10 inches high, the size of a washing machine opening. John exhaled every bit of air he could, letting the tunnel steal the final inches of space around him. But when he inhaled, the cave clamped down, swallowing him into its stone throat. He found himself stuck firmly in a narrow crevice. His head angled downward at nearly 70 degrees. One arm pinned beneath him, the other twisted behind. He couldn't go back. He couldn't go forward. He was trapped between rock and gravity, 100 feet below the surface. The cave had caught hold of him, as mercilessly as prey in a predator's jaws. John hadn't found the birth canal at all. He had crawled into a different passage, Ed's Push. Ed's Push led nowhere. It ended in 4 tiny dead-end fissures, too small for any human to pass. Worse, the passage sloped sharply downward. Retreat was far more difficult than entry. That section of the cave had a dangerous reputation. Dale Green, the man who discovered Nutty Putty, once got stuck there himself. A friend had to yank him out so hard he popped free. Green said, "I never went back." And now, the cave was about to test someone again. Josh was right behind John. When he reached the crevice, he saw only John's feet protruding. Dread swept over him. Josh said, seeing his feet and seeing how swallowed he was by the rock, "That's when I knew it was serious. It was really serious." He tried pulling John out. He managed to lift him an inch, but each time he let go, John slid right back. So they prayed. "Guide us as we work through this," Josh whispered. "Save me from my wife and kids," John pleaded. Realizing they needed help, Josh scrambled toward the surface, while a friend stayed with John in the darkness. The first rescuer who reached John was Susie Modela, 5'3", wiry, experienced, one of the few who knew Nutty Putty's tightest passages. It took her 30 minutes of crawling just to reach him. By this time, John had been trapped for 3.5 hours. The cave had swallowed him deep, past a 135-foot crawlspace that tightened with every inch. One rescuer later described what waited just before John's position. A brutally tight crawl, forcing a sharp, blind turn, entered feet first. Movement had to be slow, deliberate. You couldn't see where your feet were placed, not until your body finally cleared the constriction. Only after passing that choke point could anyone reach John. When Susie finally slid beside him, she saw only calves, shoes, and the darkness holding him hostage. She introduced herself. John's voice, tired and muffled, answered, "Hi Susie, thanks for coming, but I really want to get out." She tried to reassure him with a smile he couldn't see. "Oh, no worries John, you're gonna be out of here lickety-split." But fear knotted in her chest. She knew exactly how bad it was, and how unforgiving the cave could be. For 2 hours, Susie tried everything she knew. She cut his jeans to gain a few inches of space. She tied a lover's knot so the team could pull him free. But the rope scraped the walls, losing all force to friction. She joked with John. She sang a hymn. She tried to help him sip water. For 2 hours, they pushed, pulled, prayed. But John didn't budge. Neither did the cave. It clung to him as stubbornly as the rescuers fighting to free him. Exhausted, Susie crawled out to let another rescuer try. While Susie tried to free John, the rescue team was rigging a pulley system to defeat the cave's friction. They'd anchor a series of climbing cams to the cave's walls, with a rope threaded through them. It would multiply their pulling power. In theory, it was perfectly simple. In practice, the cave made it painstakingly difficult. Its walls were coated with powdery calcite. Anchors that should have held firm, slipped like they were set in chalk. Each new cam had to be placed, tested, repositioned, and tested again. Every trip into the tunnel with a piece of gear took almost an hour. Finally, the system was ready. They tied the rope around John's legs, braced themselves, and pulled. Slowly, agonizingly, John began to rise. But when his feet hit the tunnel's low ceiling, he screamed in pain. The rescuers froze, coming to a terrible realization. Pulling him further would almost certainly break his legs. Moments later, the cams anchoring the pulley system slipped free of the calcite walls. The entire setup failed. The cave had won the first battle. As dawn crept toward the horizon, help arrived from across Utah: rescuers, volunteers, emergency services, even a rescue helicopter. There were 137 people on scene, but numbers didn't matter. The cave's narrow tunnels only allowed one person to reach John at a time. Every rescuer who reached him was already exhausted by the hour-long crawl through twisting, narrowing, downward-sloping rock. Throughout the ordeal, John's strong Christian faith became the only thread of hope, connecting him with many of the rescuers who crawled beside him. The Utah County Sheriff's Office established a command center. They brainstormed ideas as the hours bled away. A back entrance tunnel, oil, explosives, breaking his legs to fit him through. But every idea was dismissed as too dangerous, too slow, too uncertain. Rescuers tried drilling away rock around him, but the angle was awful, upside down, cramped, barely enough room to lift a tool. An hour and a half of effort removed just 6 inches of stone. The cave remained unyielding, uncompromising, unchanged. 12 hours had passed. John wasn't just stuck, he was trapped upside down, at a steep angle that was silently destroying his body. He was drifting in and out of consciousness. Rescuers reported that, at times, he spoke calmly, even trying to joke. At others, he seemed disoriented, speaking about seeing angels and demons around him. Sometimes, he thrashed his legs frantically in panic. Human anatomy is built to work with gravity, not against it. An upside-down heart must fight to pull blood downward, away from the brain. Fluid begins to pool where it shouldn't, circulation slows, toxins accumulate, capillaries start to leak. As trauma physician Doug Murdoch rushed toward the site, he understood exactly what was at stake. Even if they succeeded in freeing John, the sudden rush of toxins into his heart could kill him instantly. Time wasn't just running out. It was turning hostile. And the cave, silent as a carnivore waiting for its trapped prey to go still, refused to give him back. As the morning sun rose, John's wife, Emily, couldn't wait at home any longer. She drove to the cave with John's parents, along with her daughter Lizzie. Emily said, "I knew I couldn't do anything to help, but I really wanted to give him a hug when he got out." At the scene, Utah County Sheriff's Lieutenant Tom Hodgson reassured her, "We'll get John out, we'll get him out for you." But Emily remembered he was tearing up as he tried to comfort her. As their final, desperate chance, the rescuers rebuilt the rope pulley system, this time replacing the unreliable climbing cams with bolts drilled deep into the cave walls. Heavy-duty air chisels rattled through the stone, sending vibrations down the passages like the pulsating heartbeat of the cave itself. One of the rescuers, Ryan Schurtz, stayed with John as the team labored. As soon as Ryan slid beside him, John begged, "Help me get out. I don't want to be on my head." Ryan asked softly, "Why are you on your head?" John whispered, confused, "Why did you guys put me here?" He was delirious, drifting in and out of reality, his upside-down world distorting everything. In one quiet moment, he murmured, "I'm sorry I'm so fat. It'd be easier for you guys to get me out if I wasn't so fat." Ryan kept talking to him, grounding him, rubbing his leg to comfort him that he wasn't alone in the dark. The rescuers brought a two-way radio into the tunnel so John could hear the voice that mattered most. "I love you. Just keep fighting." Emily's voice crackled through the static. "I love you. I love you. Tell Lizzie I love her. I'll get out, and I'll come see you." John yelled back. Ryan could hear he was crying. It was 4 p.m., November 25th, when the new pulley system was finally ready. John had now been trapped for 19 hours. But there was reason to believe he might actually make it out alive. The rope, threaded through nearly 15 bolts drilled into the rock, stretched back to an 8-man rescue team. They pulled as one. The cave pulled back. A deadly tug-of-war, with John's life hanging in balance. Then, John rose. Slowly. Inches at a time. For the first time, the cave reluctantly loosened its hold. Then John's feet brushed the low ceiling. He screamed. Ryan shouted for the team to lower him, to let him rest. When they resumed, John rose high enough for Ryan to finally see his eyes. He asked, "John, look up at me. How are you doing?" Despite the agony, John smiled weakly. "It sucks. I'm upside down. I can't believe I'm upside down. My legs are killing me." John looked exhausted, his eyes were red from crying, his face was muddy. But he wasn't bleeding, he was talking. He was still fighting. Rescuers hooked up IV fluids to feed John. And for the first time, Ryan felt something new. Hope. Against all odds. Against the crushing weight of stone and time. John was almost free. He could hug his wife. He could watch his little girl grow up. He could see his baby being born. The cave seemed ready to let him go. The rescuers let John rest for another 20 minutes before pulling again. Then, disaster struck. The entire team fell backward as the rope suddenly snapped loose. Deep inside the passage, Ryan felt something slam into his face. The world went black. When he came to, he saw nothing but swirling dust. His eye was swelling shut, his jaw felt broken, and he tasted blood. The cave had struck back. The nearest key bolt had ripped clean out of the wall, shattering the stone arch above John's legs. As the dust settled, Ryan's heart sank. John had slid down the hole again, even deeper than before. He shouted, "John, I'm bleeding. I've got to get out. But it's okay. Everything's okay. Someone else will come in with you." He crawled out of the cave, bleeding heavily from severe facial injuries. Ryan's father, Dave Schurtz, took his place. When Dave reached John, he immediately sensed the change. John's breaths were shallow, faint, each one a smaller fight than the last. Dave asked, "John, are you okay?" John's fractured voice floated to him, his words darker than the blackness around them. "I'm going to die right here. I'm not going to come out of here, am I?" The pulley had shattered much more than rock. It had shattered John's hope of getting out alive. Dave forced reassurance into his voice. "We're going to get you out." But John had fallen silent. A dying man had spoken his final words. In desperation, Dave lowered himself deeper into the crevice, to loop the rope around John's waist, and became stuck himself. It took 15 agonizing minutes to free himself from the tunnel's grip. Sweating, trembling, fighting the cave's humid chokehold, Dave stood cramped beside John and drilled a new bolt hole into the stone. Exhausted, he crawled out to make room for the next rescuer. At the cave entrance, Dave pulled Lieutenant Tom Hodgson aside. Together, they confronted the truth they had been refusing to accept. John was going to die, and there was nothing they could do about it. Dave said quietly, "He's dying right now. He has a heartbeat, but he had difficulty breathing before I got there. You can't get someone down there before he dies." But Emily didn't know. She still believed he was coming home. When rescuer Brandon Kowalis reached John, he brought a radio so Emily could speak to him. She said gently, "I know you've been pushing so hard for so long. Why don't you rest for a minute and take a break, and then you can push again?" For a moment, it comforted her. She had given her husband, struggling so hard for his family, for her, against something so impossible, permission to be at peace for a moment. But John didn't respond. He was already unconscious. He never woke again. A paramedic crawled into the tunnel and checked John's pulse. There was none. Shortly before midnight on November 25th, John Edward Jones, 26 years old, husband and father, was pronounced dead of cardiac arrest. Emily couldn't accept it. She was terrified of leaving. What if John wasn't dead? What if they all left and he woke up alone? But John hadn't spoken, moved, or breathed for hours. Suspended upside down, his heart had finally surrendered, after hours of catastrophic strain. 137 rescuers left the site with empty hands and breaking hearts. They had fought for 27 hours against rock, time, and gravity. But they couldn't bring John home. The cave had claimed him. On Thanksgiving Day, November 26, Utah County Sheriff's Lieutenant Tom Hodgson brought even more devastating news to John's grieving family. His team wouldn't be able to recover John's body. He said, "To make that phone call on Thanksgiving morning, to a family that is hopeful you will be bringing their son out, and they'll get some closure, it wasn't an easy phone call to make." Naturally, their first reaction was horror. What did it mean? They couldn't bring John home. But without John alive to help them, removing his body would be even more dangerous than the rescue attempt itself. So the family agreed. They wouldn't allow anyone else to risk their life. A week later, officials made the painful decision to seal Nutty Putty Cave permanently, both to give the family peace and to prevent another tragedy. The mouth of the cave was sealed with concrete, turning 1,400 feet of winding, narrow tunnels into the final resting place of John Edward Jones. It has remained sealed ever since. John lies where he became trapped. His family placed a plaque at the entrance in his memory. A wrong turn, in a narrow tunnel. A wrong turn, of fate. A cave became a grave. A grave, became a tomb. John Edward Jones joined the rare few who were not lowered into their resting place by family and friends. Unintentionally, unknowingly, he lowered himself into his own grave. Hanging upside down for 27 hours as his life slipped out of his fingertips. 27 never-ending hours in which a young man in the prime of his life, a father, a husband, slowly, agonizingly, slipped into death's embrace. Now resting in a sealed tomb under the Utah sky. Forever, trapped. Forever, cold. Forever, alone. But life finds a way. On June 15th, Emily gave birth to their second child. A boy. She named him John. Emily said, "I just know that he's still watching out for us, that our family is still a family." Somewhere in the heavens, John must have looked down and smiled. In that tiny new heartbeat, he lives on. A tribute to the memory of John Edward Jones. May his soul rest in peace. Which moment in John's story lingered with you the most? I'd like to hear your comments. If this story lingered in your thoughts, like the video and share your comments. And for more real-life stories that probe the unthinkable, the unsolved, the unexplained, subscribe to Unraveled.